All right, let's do this. Joining me now, Charlie Kirk. Welcome to the Alec Lace Show.
Thank you. And you were in Detroit, so appreciate you being there, and thanks so much.
Yeah, well, you put on a great show. I know now you got the book that dropped this week, Right Wing Revolution, How to Beat the Woke and Save the West. And right before I jump into the book, I would imagine you cover some of this in there. But one of the things I focus on so much, Charlie, is the fact that parents are under attack in this country. I think they're the underdog when it comes to November. I think they're going to speak loudest in November. We got a fatherless crisis in our country. They've taken the father out of the home, the heavenly father out of our society. And that 1-2 punch has really destroyed our nation. So I just wanted to get your take on that.
I mean, I agree completely. And we have a whole chapter dedicated to similar themes. And when you look at one of the 10 commandments, which is the bridge commandment between our connection with the divine and our connection to our fellow man, which is honor your mother and father so that you may live long in the land of which you are in. It's the only one of the 10 commandments that involves a promise in your nation. And so, and by the way, if you can't honor your earthly father, then how will you honor your eternal father, your heavenly father? And so, look, every totalitarian country, every dictatorship aims to destroy the family. Strong families are a threat to the Great Reset. Strong families are a threat to the World Economic Forum. And strong men create strong families. You cannot have strong families without strong men. America has become hyper-feminized. Men are being pushed to the outer limits of this, and many of them are now becoming right-wing, which I think is a positive thing. It's not the only solution. Young men are the most conservative that they have been in the last 50 years. I think that is a good development. It requires even more work in addition to that. But yes, in the book, Right Wing Revolution, people can find it at 45books.com. We are seeing this trend. We are seeing this. We are seeing how the left and the woke have gone after men, gone after the family, gone after the nuclear family, and what we have to do to respond.
Yeah, well said, Charlie. And one of those things, and I got the link to Right Wing Revolution down there in the description below. One of the things we saw the attack come out against Harrison Bucker. He's a guy I've interviewed several times over the last few years, and they came out strong against his message. But he's speaking from that biblical point of view that goes God, Father, Mother, Child. And in our country right now, it goes government, child, mother, father, and there ain't no God involved. So I think that's the reason why they upset that Marxist ideology, and they came at him so strong.
Oh, yeah, and I'm actually seeing Harrison soon, and I think he's terrific. He's a good man, and he's a devout Catholic, and he was a Catholic speaking to Catholics. Why is that controversial? That is mainline Catholic teaching, and I thought it was really disappointing how few major Catholics actually came to his defense. It was very silent and very telling because it was too controversial. But look, it is a fact that there are many women out there that regret when they're in their 30s and early 40s that they did not prioritize family formation, and instead they prioritized being a girl boss or being a CEO of a shoe company. That's fine, but it will lead to an empty and miserable life. And we see that young ladies who are unmarried are the most depressed, the most suicidal, the most anxious people in American society. And that's not a criticism of them. That's actually, I have sympathy for them. I want to see them flourish. And part of it is laying down your arms on the war against men. The war on men has resulted in a significant amount of cultural carnage. And so we need to rebuild men, we need to rebuild fathers, but it goes both ways. For example, in certain communities, the Black community especially, but also increasingly in the white community, men will impregnate women and they'll abandon the women that they're with. 75% of men in the Black community will abandon the women that they impregnate. 75%. So that means 3 out of 4. And so we as men have to hold men to a higher standard when we see this happening.
Yeah, well said, Charlie. 1 second here. I think I froze up. Am I moving on your screen?
Yes. No, you did freeze up. That's right.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. Hold on. I don't know why this is like this. Okay, I'm back to moving now, right?
I see you now. Yep, I see you.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right. All right. All right. Oh, well said, Charlie. One of the things here, obviously, you're talking about right-wing revolution, how to beat the woke and save the West. We're seeing this full frontal attack here towards men, and it's particularly where men seem to live, because now we just saw the NFL, the Buffalo Bills. They're coming out with a gay flag football league. 70% or more of that entire viewing population is men. We see the Star Wars. they've made Star Wars so woke and gay, and 65% of the Star Wars fans are all men. So it seems like they're making this all geared towards like a recruitment almost, in a sense. Like they're trying to recruit new people into the fold here, because otherwise, let's face it, the entire system breaks down in that community because they're not procreating. They're not making new the babies and raising them. So they have to come and recruit from our babies. So it kind of seems like they're trying to dip into the biggest pools to do their recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, they can't reproduce, so they have to recruit. And so look, this is a very important thing, is that many people were okay, quote unquote, okay with the LGBT stuff because they thought it was live and let live. Oh, that's your lifestyle. I'm not going to interfere with your life. It was never about that. It was a means to dominate all of society. We have all of June dedicated to this. We have well over 100 different days. Transgender Awareness Day, LGBT2 Spirit Day. People have no idea how much this takeover has actually occurred in our society. And my temperament, I mean, I'm a committed Christian. I believe that marriage is between one man and one woman, period. I've always been clear on that. But 5 or 6 years ago, I was naive, and I talk about this in the book, where I was like, live and let live. I believe in what marriage, one man, one woman, but let's just kind of disengage from the topic. That was a mistake. I talk about that openly in the book. Because it was never about that. It was always about incremental taking over of society, from you must tolerate it to then you must celebrate it to then you must participate in it. And if you dare reject or oppose at any single turn, they will destroy your life and call you a bigot. I do think, though, and polls are showing this, Gen Z men in particular are less and less on board for the LGB agenda. We are seeing the excesses of it. We are seeing an outright groomer propaganda agenda. And so this is a very important moment where we as Americans must draw the distinction. The first battle that we must fight, and there's many of them, this one is a no-brainer though, is the distinction between adult and child. If we are not able to win that battle, the civilization is over. I think the battle is bigger than that, to be perfectly honest. I think just focusing on the recruitment of children is not the whole picture, but I can agree that needs to be the primary and the initial battle when it comes here. If we cannot say that pornography is off limits when it comes to children, if we can't say that drag queens have no business around children, if we can't say that parents who sexualize their kids, there's these new stories in the New York Post and the New York Times. I don't know if you saw this, of these moms that essentially pimp out their 8, 9, and 10-year-old girls. Have you seen this on Instagram? Yeah. And they have all these followers. And who are these moms? I think these moms should be criminally investigated. I think that they should be put in jail. And you know what? And then the moms are shocked to learn that upwards of like 90 to 98% of all the followers of their 11-year-old daughter who's posting sexually are men saving those videos. And these moms are the ones running these accounts. And so I think they should be criminally investigated if they're doing, how is that any different than what a pedophile would do? I know that might sound very radical, but these are parents that are supposed to be tasked with overseeing their kids' well-being. Anyway, I don't mean to take a detour on that, but I'll just repeat this, which is that if we cannot define and protect the adult-child distinction, it will be the end of the West.
Yeah, I agree, Charlie. And I usually refer to those parents as their pronouns are me, me, me. It usually seems like you have these parents that are just trying to get likes and views for themselves, and they use the kid as a tool and a prop. And also, too, by the way, Charlie, we see that in Hollywood, your chances of having a transgender kid go up like 400,000% because it's like everybody in Hollywood got a transgender kid. But switching gears on that, the way that we're protecting the kids, I love what this Governor Lee did in Tennessee. I know DeSantis has one of these down there in Florida as well, as the death penalty for these child rapists. And I think that that's something that needs to go national. I think that's something that should be a no-brainer that we should have. And I believe down in Florida, they have the first case right now pending where you have one of these lunatics that raped a kid and now is going to face a death penalty. But I think we need more stern, strict laws against this. It's time to say, hey, this is unacceptable. Maximum penalties for stuff like this. And I agree with you. I think parents that bring kids to a drag queen story hour should be put on the child sex registry or something like that because it's out of control.
Yeah, it is. We need harsher penalties. And just so everyone understands, in California, they are taking steps to decriminalize pedophilia, not to do what they're doing in Tennessee. I want to make sure I get my facts right, but I believe that they have now given the ability for judges to mark child sex crimes as misdemeanors, not felonies. And you can look into it. This was a controversy a couple years ago But there is a growing, quote unquote, intellectual movement of what they now call MAPS. And if your audience does not know what MAPS is, you got to get educated. Minor attracted persons, otherwise known as pedophiles. Pedophiles have no place in decent society. They should all be locked up in jail, many of whom should be given the death penalty, period. And I'll also say this, you talk to psychologists and psychiatrists, there's two ways to interpret this, what I'm about to say. If you talk to anyone who really knows, like the non-wacky psychiatrists, because there's some good ones out there that really try, and they're rooted in reality. You say, can pedophiles be cured? And they say no. It's a very important thing. So then there's two ways to look at that situation. The first of which is how the left does. They'll say, oh, they can't be cured, so therefore get rid of the laws because they'll never get better. Or the way we look at it, they all go to jail. Tough life. Every single one of you. There's no curing you. The rest of your life, you go to prison. You touch a child, you go to jail, period.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. There is no rehabilitation, like you said. There is no chance they're going to stop being attracted to little kids. So we're going to give them, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is. Once they come out, they still have that attraction. So it does absolutely nothing. Again, Right-Wing Revolution, How to Beat the Woke and Save the West. Got the link down there in the description below. One of the other parts of this thing too, Charlie, like I was talking about the fatherlessness that we have going on, the breakdown of the nuclear family. The young people in this country aren't procreating. They have lost the incentive to get married and stuff. Like when I used to tell people, I got 4 kids, a lot of times people look at me like I got 4 heads, like 4 kids. Wow. And so now, we're married 19 years with 4 kids, and it's almost an anomaly for people my age right now, because it's a lot of people getting married later, starting later to have kids. And it's like trying to encourage. This is why I have this other show that I do, First Class Fatherhood. I've had over 750 dads, all high profile, on the show to say, hey, look, having children has been the greatest thing that's ever brought me fulfillment in life, not these other material achievements that we're kind of trying to tell young people to go after instead of starting a family.
Yeah, and we have 2 under 2, so we're trying to catch up to you. So 6 kids between the 2 of us. Look, having children, they're a gift from the Lord, as it says in the Proverbs. And so in the book, Right-Wing Revolution, we talk about how the need to reverse the fertility crisis. Joe Biden has done entire days dedicated to the Transgender Day of Awareness on Easter Sunday. Joe Biden has done symposiums on systemic racism. He's done limitless and nauseating amounts of stuff on climate change and environmentalism. Has he done a single speech, uttered a sentence about the declining fertility rate in the West? No. It is the lowest it's ever been in American history. If Donald Trump is to, God willing, get another term in the White House, and I'm working as hard as I possibly can to get that done, to do my role, I'm going to be pushing him and the White House to do a series of speeches, series of addresses, sign executive orders, whatever it takes to reverse the fertility crisis. That literally is our future. It's not about climate change. It's not about systemic racism. If you do not have enough children to replace yourself, then your species will no longer exist. So having children is amazing. And look, we're going to outbreed the left. The left, they do not have a lot of children. Many of them are lesbian and gay, so they can't have a lot of children. And the more children we have, eventually we're going to outbreed them and we're going to outnumber them. And I think you're starting to see the initial stages of that with Gen Z. Plenty of problems with Gen Z, but they're becoming a very right-wing generation. I think Gen Alpha is going to be even more right-wing because their parents are more right-wing. Because think about it, the people who are having children right now, very few of them are left-wing very few of them are liberals. They might have like 1 kid and 5 dogs. But we now have like 10 to 15 million single women who are liberal in their late 30s and early 40s that are probably not going to have kids. Now, that's a bad thing for society, but they're going to be a permanent Democrat voting bloc because they'll remain very bitter because they do not have children, and they're going to remain very neurotic. And that's too bad for them. I hope they would have children, but late 30s, early 40s, time is really running out. So those of us that are having children, our children are the ones that are going to be raised up and are going to hopefully take leadership and govern society.
Also, Charlie, there's got to be all hands on deck to turn this thing around. My oldest just graduated high school a few weeks ago, right? So every parent that has this concern that's a conservative, they're afraid sending your kid to college now and him coming out hating America, not liking the police, being an activist, because that's a fear that conservative parents have. Liberal parents don't worry about sending their kid to college and coming back draped in the American flag, loving the country, honoring the flag. They don't worry about that stuff. So we're going to have to do something to change these universities, change the way that Hollywood is portraying men, portraying families. You don't see families intact in Hollywood movies that stay together, grow up together, and then raise their kids. So I think it's like these same institutions that have worked to help destroy the family over the last 50 years are going to all have to play a part in restoring it again.
That's right. And that's what we talk about in the right-wing revolution, is that it's going to take every patriot, every citizen to rise up. It's going to take a bottom-up type movement. People can find it at 45books.com. And, the focus and the emphasis needs to be on restoring virtue, restoring goodness. It says in the Psalms, let those of you who love the Lord hate evil. That is in the command form. And we have a lot of evil to hate and a lot of evil to fight.
Yeah, I do that sometimes with my own kids. Sometimes you got to use love and hate in the same sentence. Like, when I do it something wrong, hey, I love you. I just hate this decision you made, And so I think we do that. We must love good and hate evil. You're right on that. Right Wing Revolution link is down there in the description below. Last thing I want to hit you with here, Charlie. I know that you just recently had Rachel Maddow down your case here. She did a whole expose, you being a racist. She came out hard on you. I know you put out a floater there. Hey, I'd love to come on the show. Did you get a response from her, or what is your response to that?
No response. It's so interesting is if you watch her segment, she didn't say my name, that's a new kind of left-wing tactic. She's like, and this guy, very snarky. She's a sick person. I don't say that lightly. She's been very open about how she deals with depression and anxiety. You can see it on her face. She's become a very dark person. She's dealing with a lot, obviously. And I wish her well. She's an unwell person. She only now works 1 day a week. So she's basically given up on the revolution. Meanwhile, we're launching a counter revolution. And her whole show is like, this is the end of politics. Again, it's that apocalyptic death cult. But I don't say this like contrite. I don't say this tritely. I say this very clearly. I feel bad for her. I mean, she's a dark human being. I don't think she believes in God. I don't think she has children. I could be wrong. I think she has a lot of pets. She believes in ideas that destroy your soul. And so she does this 1 hour monologue once a week. And yeah, she earns $20 or $30 million a year. Okay, whatever. And I don't think that she's full of joy. You watch the Charlie Kirk show, or you watch your wonderful program, the Alec Lace Show, and like, which one is actually going to be, who actually has joy and happiness? Not Rachel Maddow. So Rachel, I hope you enjoy your 1 day a week of working. Meanwhile, we're going to keep on laboring for 6 weeks and resting for one, as it says in the scriptures.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. She personifies that left-wing lunatic with Trump derangement syndrome. So Right Wing Revolution, link to the book is down there in the description below. Charlie Kirk, you put on a hell of a show out there in Detroit. You do a great job. Keep up the great work. Thanks for giving me a few minutes of your time today on the Alec Lace Show. God
bless. Thank you.
That I became a woman. I did not become a woman. I was a dude wearing women's clothing. It's gender dysphoria. And so that's the problem we have right now with all these people. And it's pure virtue signaling, and it's Munchausen by proxy, So what we need to do is we need to really look at this, and we have to figure out the fact that gender dysphoria does not require surgery. Gender dysphoria does not require hormone blockers or pills of any kind. Gender dysphoria, all it requires is some understanding and a little bit of love. So, I would tell all the parents out there that all the data that these schools are using to push this agenda, and I'm going to call it agenda. I'm going to call it what it is. Just pure grooming. It's pure grooming. Because if you're sitting there talking about sexual stuff to a kindergarten kid, they have no idea what you're talking about. And especially if it's a kindergartner and you have, somebody showing up there in lingerie, a dude wearing lingerie, talking to a kid about sexuality. What do you think that's doing to that kid? A kindergartner? Are you kidding me? Now, you got to consider me when I was growing up. I never came out, and I was never public about anything, for a long time. And the reason was because it's very, personal, and it's sexual, and anything that's personal and sexual and very not mainstream, a very minority population. So you're talking about maybe 2% of the population. And so the 98% of the population is sitting there watching this 2% of the population take over everything. They're taking over education. They're taking over every corporate, corporations right now are totally bending over backwards to placate to this 2% of the population.